Okay, so our opening question this week is based on my own past experiences with film classes, but I wanted to ask, what films directed by women would you add to a film studies syllabus? So, Gabby, since it's kind of fresh in your mind, I don't know if you want to go first.
Yeah, so I recently took like my first film class and we watched like quite a few movies, but I think a few that I thought would have like really would have been interesting to watch would have been The Hurt Locker. I think just from like a technical standpoint, there's a lot to learn from Catherine Bigelow, and in this movie in particular, like there's the editing and the sound design and the camera work. It showcases a lot of the fundamentals of modern filmmaking, but it also shows how a director like Bigelow can infuse her style and perspective into a lot of her direction. And then just like a few other movies I would pick is like Lost in Translation, just because it's one of those movies that has like entered the classic film canon. Usually when someone says like, what's the best movie directed by a woman, a lot of people choose Sofia Coppola's first, well, not her first, her second film, Lost in Translation. I can't recall.
I believe it's her second full feature-length one.
Yeah, it's her second. And then for documentary filmmaking, Holly's Stories We Tell is amazing. And I definitely think that more documentary filmmaking classes should be showing that film. And then I kind of added Mira Nair's The Namesake, because I feel like it's one of those big epic like film like stories, and it's like a multi-generational story, and she kind of weaves it together so well into like this single feature film, and I think a lot of directors have trouble with that. So she's just like a great example of how to really like edit and put a story together that like is cohesive, it makes sense, and like moves you along through it so gracefully.
Yeah, I feel like there's at least 3 Mira Nair films that I could add to that list too. I feel like she's so good. Sorry, I just like I was saying, Monsoon Wedding should have been on my list, but I totally forgot when you said that. Yeah, and I also think Catherine Bigelow should be kind of talked about in the same vein that like Steven Spielberg and like, or what's his face? I'm totally forgetting his name. Titanic guy. Like
James Cameron.
Yeah, like the kind of like titans of like kind of modern blockbuster like films, and she's just still not, and that always kind of baffles me. But AJ, do you want to talk about what your picks were too?
Yeah, I have a couple, and they're kind of all over the place. But I've never taken like a film class, like a traditional film class, so I kind of picked from different places. I guess my first one would be Maya Deren's Meshes of the Afternoon, and it's one that I watched this year and was completely like taken with it. It's extremely surreal. The way that she toys with time and builds this circular narrative and cozies right up to everything.
Uh-oh, did we just lose her?
Oh, shit. Yeah, we did.
Hey, Jay, you're back.
Oh, she's back.
Did it drop out?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I was talking this whole time.
Yeah, do you want to start? No, it's okay. Do you want to start at the beginning of the Meshes of the Afternoon?
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay. So, yeah, Meshes of the Afternoon by Maya Deren. It's super surreal. The way she toys with time and crafts this circular narrative and cozies up to everything that all of us fear, even the things that we don't realize that we're afraid of, is astounding and magical, and it will melt your brain in the 18 or 19 minutes that it runs for. In terms of more modern picks, since Meshes is from 1943 or 1948, I believe, would be Anna Rose Holmer's debut drama, The Fits, for its ability to capture feelings of isolation and the way that she uses this really evocative imagery. And Nia DaCosta's Little Woods, which can only be described as a masterclass in how to do character-centric slice-of-life film. And then Amy Heckerling's Clueless, for obvious reasons, because I just love that movie.
It is a classic. I mean, a lot of people give like John Hughes credit for like the teen movie, but I'm like, Clueless should be as hailed as those movies.
Yeah. And Amy Heckerling did some other big classics too.
She did Fast
and
Times
I still
at
feel like
Ridgemont
she's not necessarily
Right.
mentioned in the same breath. Which I know it. Okay, I was getting that one and I keep getting that one and Bill and Ted mixed up, and I don't know why. I do. But yeah, she's still not mentioned in the same breath as some of her contemporaries, and it just kind of blows my mind. But also, I can attest to Meshes of the Afternoon, and only because I watched it after I read AJ's piece of her roundup on the 52 films by women, like the films that she had seen so far this year. It's fucking weird. And I should have expected it based on her write-up, and it still kind of surprised me. It is very good. But my picks, I feel like, are kind of obvious because we've talked about them. But Bright Star is definitely on there because I just think it's visual poetry. Like, I think you're hard-pressed to find a film that looks as good as that one does. There's Daughters of the Dust by Julie Dash. It's a difficult watch. It's not easy necessarily to grasp, but I feel like it really holds a place in time, and it's really richly defined. And then Les Bonnes Hair by Agnes Varda, to see a similar French wave expressionism where that conversation is so typically dominated by male acteurs, quote unquote, because I'm starting to hate that term. I picked these three because I think all these three films are styles in which men are so frequently praised for and women aren't necessarily given the same light, which we're kind of talking about later in this when we talk more about Starstruck and Across the Universe. But before that, how well versed or interested are you two in musicals to begin with?
Well, I've seen enough musicals to say I'm well versed, but I wouldn't also say I'm an expert. I'm generally more interested in stage musicals. I like seeing them live in person rather than movie musicals. I think those sort of tend to test my patience a little bit more. And in that way, I feel like movie musicals have to work a lot harder to impress me rather than compared to a non-musical film. And I think it's just because there's really a good balance between the plot and the characters and then the song, dance, and spectacle part of it. I just feel like it's always one over the other, and there's not a balance that kind of makes it feel whole and right.
Yeah, I can get that a little bit, the missing link. I'm kind of the opposite. I mean, I've always been involved in music though, and I kind of think of myself as a lazy, secretive musical nerd because I never could afford to go and see the big ones. But I'm also my paper's theater critic, so I'm kind of in it. But I feel like film musicals I've had a harder time with, but as of recently, as I've gotten more into it and I'm kind of discovering the older ones, I'm finding myself more of a fan. But I still feel like it's one of those genres that I have a lot of room to grow in. AJ, how about you?
I'm the same way. I've never seen a stage musical, and I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily well versed by any means in musical films or stage musicals. But you guys know that Mamma Mia is everything to me. So I can definitely get down with movie musicals, provided they're done well. So I know that movie musicals really aren't for everyone. I took a friend to see Les Mis when it came out in theaters, and she just wasn't enthused at all. Not impressed. I was moved to tears. I was living for it, but she was just not. So yeah, they do have to be really, really, really well done in nearly all aspects. I think a lot more so than if they didn't involve any music, if it was just a movie, to receive the same kind of praise that a non-musical movie would. And I agree with Gabby on that, on that point, that they do have to work harder. In terms of recent movie musicals that I really liked besides Mamma Mia. Into the Woods and The Last 5 Years were two of my favorite movie musicals from the last 5 years. No pun intended on that one, but yeah.
Yeah, I like The Last 5 Years too.
Mm-hmm.
There's a link there with Anna Kendrick too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think I just like Anna Kendrick.
Is there a lag?
I think so.
Yep.
Okay, Allie left for a second.
Yeah, mine cut out earlier.
Yeah, I don't know what's up.
Google's just giving us a hard time tonight.
Yeah, I know.
It's Monday.
Right. It's like, you know what? You didn't have a long enough day, so
we're just gonna extend this and make your life harder.
Hello?
Hey.
I don't know why it keeps happening like this. So I'm just trying to mark where I'm gonna have to go in. Can you hear me without a delay now?
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go to the next question, unless you think the other one needed more wrapping up.
No, I think we're good.
Okay. So where is it? How did you guys like the films? And I'm saying this because I already see your notes, so I know we're disagreeing a little bit, which I think is exciting because we rarely do that. But I don't know if either of you wanted to kind of kick that one off, or if I should start with my love fest.
Start with your love fest.
Yeah, because I'm the one who differs. So I fucking love these two films, right? Both are in my top 200 of all time, ranked, which I can link to. But I Across the Universe, I just also think of as kind of a stamp in time film for me. Like I saw it in an important part of my life, or I don't know, yeah, I was a teenager, so I guess that's important. But and I was really transfixed by it, and it kind of opened up a door to a type of film I hadn't yet realized that I really love, and then realized I did, which is just kind of this overabundance of like vibrant visuals. Like I really, really love vibrancy in film, and I feel like we still don't get it enough. And also I just thought the story was sweet. Like I just generally loved everything about it, and I still do. And few films that I loved so much in my teen years carry over till now, except for a fair few, usually all involving music actually. And then with Starstruck, I only saw that a couple months ago, and there's just something about the off-kilter energy about it that just really immediately attracted me. I also love almost every film by Gillian Armstrong that I've seen, so clearly there's something that just clicks with me in terms of her filmmaking. But yeah, I think they're both extraordinary films that tell their stories in really unique ways with really interesting human characters at the center of like such spectacles. So I really love these films. I know you two weren't like totally on board though. So Gabby, I don't know if you kind of want to start since.
Yeah, so I thought they were good. But I didn't love them.
I thought they were good.
Yeah, they were good. I mean, I don't think they're bad by any means. And I guess it's just like I enjoyed watching them. I didn't regret watching them.
Well, thank God.
So it's just they're good. I guess I wouldn't say like I'd be telling everyone to go watch them. I can't say that. But I had seen Across the Universe a few years ago. Probably when I was like a teenager or my late teen years. And I didn't really care for it then. And I was kind of hoping that I'd think of it differently now, but I didn't. I sort of felt the same way about it. So I guess it's just basically not my type of movie. But I think technically it's incredible. I just, I love Julie Taymor's direction. I mean, yeah, Waunchy scene, which I will talk about later, is just so fantastic. I could watch that on YouTube like so many times because I think it's just really interesting. But yeah, it's just a long movie. It's over 2 hours, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like I just wasn't so engaged, like, you know, in those in between moments. And this was my first time watching Starstruck, which I didn't know anything about at all. So it was kind of like really like, whoa, okay, we're really going into the 80s. And which I thought also was very, you know, technically well done, and it had a lot more spirit and energy than Across the Universe. I watched them right after each other, so I was able to like, I was trying not to compare them, but because I could see that they're each going for their own thing, but at the same time, I felt like I could kind of like watch Starstruck a little bit more, just because it was like it had more energy, and I felt better that it was going to end like in 95 minutes. So you know, I kind of like to know where I am in the movie, and so when I pay attention to the time, and yeah.
AJ, how about you?
I feel somewhat the same, but maybe a little bit warmer about both of the films. I enjoyed Across the Universe more now than I did when I saw it in 2007, which is saying a lot considering I was in 8th grade at the time, and I was at the height of my like weird Beatles obsession. I don't know if that's just a me thing or if all like teenage girls go through this phase where they're just obsessed with the Beatles, and I don't know.
I certainly knew a few.
Yeah, I was like the weird horse girl, like in your elementary school. I was the weird Beatles girl. Like, I was that girl.
Oh no,
were you the weird horse? Were you the weird horse girl and the Beatles girl, or are you saying you were like the weird horse girl?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was to the Beatles like the weird horse girl was to like her farm and like
oh God.
like yeah, it was bad. It was a lot.
Listen, I grew up in Maine. I knew a lot of those girls.
It was short-lived. I moved on to like Panic at the Disco. But anyway, not that that's much better, but
no, but I get that.
So it's saying a lot that now I can kind of appreciate it more. I remember just being like underwhelmed by the movie when I saw it back then, and that might just be because of my age. And I didn't really grasp all the nuances and everything. But now it's like I'm just whelmed by it. Like it's a movie that I'm not particularly moved by it, but it's very well constructed and it's really, really lovely to look at. Like it's a treat for your eyes. And I also can't be the only one that just realized Evan Rachel Wood is Lucy in the movie. I must just be oblivious to everything in the world. But yeah, I think that it has a lot going for it, but I always wonder with jukebox films like this, if the story would work if you take away the songs and their context and everything that like we know about the weight of songs like Hey Jude and I've Just Seen a Face and things like that. If you took all that away and you didn't have all this like background information going into it, if the film would work. For me, I don't know if it would hold up and be as captivating as something, you know, another film in the same genre. So I don't know if that's just me being harsher of a critic on it because it's a movie musical, but
I think it's interesting though, now that you say things like you were a Beatles fan, like I was like a Queen fan, the weird Queen fan in early high school, and I loved Panic at the Disco. Mm-hmm. So I think I was skewed and have always been kind of skewed towards like theatrics, I suppose, in film. And so to me, and I was actually talking to somebody the other day about another movie with like music being a predominant part of it, that Hearts Beats Loud. And I thought that the songs serviced the film more than the film serviced the songs. So I do think it's interesting that you said that about this essentially, because this is one of those films where I'm almost okay with it being strictly emotional spectacle. Mm-hmm. Like as long as I care, like, and I did, I I'm less concerned, I guess, about like the subtleties.
Mhm.
But I get that argument because I literally just made it the other day about another film. But it also, I kind of equate this as a film like a Wachowski sister film, you know, or Wachowski sister film. Like, it's kind of in that boat, but I'm also like a shameless fan of them as well.
Mhm.
Whereas I know not all of their stuff is good, but man, do I enjoy watching it. So, but that's really funny because I really just made that argument and somebody was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're like, stop. But it makes so much sense because you're right. If you did take away the musical numbers, it's another war drama.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of. Barely.
Sort of, yeah.
Still love it. I love that empty, pretty shit. But but I get it though. I get it.
In terms of Starstruck, pretty much the same. It's very nice, like escapism. I think it works a little bit more in terms of like the actual film and the story itself holding up. Doesn't quite live up to its name. I wasn't starstruck by it. But I do love the 80s Australian setting. It makes me feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. And Gillian Armstrong is like the Italian chef hand meme. Like I love her films. They're so very good. But yeah, this one was like 7 out of 10 for me. If I had to give it a rating. It is a movie.
It is a movie.
Oh God!
It is a movie.
So,
yikes! Still better than the American Quilt movie. So we can agree that Armstrong is amazing. So I was really thinking about this today because apparently all of her films are like on Filmstruck right now, which is funny timing. But with the versatility displayed in her career, I mean, how isn't Armstrong spoken about more? It makes me think of Nicole Holsner, who's been doing like great American independent films for a couple decades, and she still is slept on. Like, I understand it's sexism. I really, truly do at the base level that is what it is. But do you guys think there's anything else to it? You know? Probably not.
No. I mean, I pretty much, Hollywood is sexist. Like, I know it's kind of like a lazy and boring response, but it's kind of true because, like, I mean, versatility is the most important quality for a director, for any artist to have. And Armstrong has clearly proven that with her work throughout the years. And there are a number of male directors who kind of stick to their shtick. And like, I kind of pointed out, like, Quentin Tarantino, who is great. I'm not going to say he's bad because he's not, but he's only great at his style. I mean, have you ever seen him do anything completely different than his usual thing?
No.
And, you know, so it's just kind of like, you know, he kind of, you know, each of his movies are different, but they're not that different. They have this sort of tone that he's, you know, very comfortable with using, and it's very individual to him, and they are enjoyable, but at the same time, it lacks versatility. And I think that's the most interesting thing about an artist. So, yeah, it just leaves me to say that, like, Hollywood is sexist because there's so many directors like Tarantino who keep doing the same damn thing. And then there's someone like Gillian Armstrong who can clearly do anything, but not given the opportunity to do it.
Yeah, and I'll go on and say that I think Tarantino is not that great. And I'm fine saying that. Because he only does the same fucking thing. He's just nailed down what he does well, and he gets called an auteur because of it, because people can, like, recognize it as being him. And it's like, shouldn't you be able to recognize it being him without him doing the same tricks? But whatever. I know I'd get judgment for that one. And I cut you off, AJ, which is so rude.
Oh, so, no worries. I like jumped in. I was like, I have so much to say. It just got me thinking, Gabby's point about, the male directors just sticking to one style and getting praised for it. I wonder if part of the reason why a lot of female filmmakers, especially people like Armstrong, are kind of slept on because they're not doing films in a genre that's considered male, like drama and like period drama, romantic drama, it's not considered male. So, and we've talked about this so many times of like female film directors feeling like, do I have to skew the way that I would direct a film so that like a male audience member would enjoy it? You know, it's like, are they getting like just swept under the rug or just glossed over because they're not doing like sci-fi or action, or like, why does a female filmmaker have to like be in this boys club to be considered good, even though you already are like fantastic at what you're doing? Are you just not getting the praise because you're not? I don't know. It's just, I know none of that made sense, but
no, it does. And what makes it even more frustrating is the fact that even when those female directors step out to try to be a part of those quote unquote boys club, like Catherine Bigelow,
yeah,
they're still looked down as, or it's still like a separate category that they're put into. Or again, I'm saying their name wrong now, Wachowski sisters, you know, big action films, big science fiction films. And again, it's like, well, they're this and that, but they're not going to be considered to be in the great film canon. And I just think that's bullshit, because it's like you said, it's like a, you know, damned if they do, damned if they don't situation. Yeah. So where do they get to win?
It's like, you can do great, but you're no Tarantino and you're no Scorsese. And it's like, but they're just as good, and sometimes they're better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, my favorite Scorsese, well, it's funny because it's like, you know, with films like by Tarantino and Scorsese, oftentimes my favorite films by them are the ones that aren't easily recognizable as them. So like Hugo is my favorite Scorsese film because I would never in a million years have been able to immediately guess that it was him. So, you know, I do think, and I think it hurts, in fairness, it hurts the male directors too, because it means they're not experimenting as much because they find themselves in this niche and they stay there because it's comfortable and they're continually praised. So, yeah, I mean, I get all riled up too, because it's just like, and then I end up not speaking very eloquently because I'm annoyed. But like, it just, you know, you can watch My Brilliant Career to Starstruck, Oscar and Lucinda, Little Women, all 4 films by this director, all wildly different. And it's like, how isn't she in the same conversation as somebody like even Richard Linklater, you know, a smaller independent filmmaker who's done different films and different styles, but has like this kind of link that makes it their own, but she's still not even talked about in the same breath as him. So, except for like, you know, female critics who really dig, who care enough to watch the films. But yeah, I guess sexism is the answer, huh?
Fortunately.
God damn it. But speaking of, I do think, so I really love the lead character in Starstruck. I love that she's kind of just eccentric and marches to the beat of her own drum and all that nonsense. And the fact that she's just kind of, she's aggressively interested in getting what she wants, which I think in a lot of films would be looked upon as being a shameful aspect of her. And I don't think it is. Like, I don't think they're ever actually trying to say that she's being wrong for doing what she wants to do. Like, sometimes she takes a misstep or she like mistreats friends or whatever, and that's looked down on, but her ambition never is, which I think is really interesting, because I don't think you see that often with female characters.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it was sort of crazy because I kept forgetting that this was actually like an 80s film when I was watching it and not like a period piece I was watching that's like, you know, that came out recently and, you know, transports us back to that time. But it is. So in that way, it's kind of modern for its time, because I agree that I think that like she is very eccentric and she has like this, her animal presence, which I love. And I think it brought so much energy. And if a guy directed it, you know, she would be different. You know, she'd be less eccentric. I think she even would have spoke and sounded differently too, because she had like this very like zealous, like this zeal to her voice. It was a little higher pitched. It wasn't like considered I guess, like eloquent, I guess what a lot of people would say. So, but she had so much spirit and energy, and yeah, I think she's really the heart of the film and why I liked it.
At all.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I get it. And it gives me a good idea what films not to recommend later. AJ, how about you?
I feel very much the same way. And I think a lot of the feelings that I had about the character, we've kind of already touched on when we talked about Fish Tank. And how Katie Jarvis's character, Mia, wouldn't have had the same agency if a man had directed the film. So I think that kind of allowing her to explore the world as she sees it, mapping out her own path and following it the way that she wants to. I think that had a different team of creatives been behind the film, it may have been different. Yeah, and I think that that's a common thread in films that are created by women and feature female leads that I really enjoy. It could be a terrible film, and I'm not saying this is a terrible film by any means. It could be like a really bad film, and I've seen a lot of like bad movies, but I can't deny when a female lead is like awesome. I can't like not love that character. And I really love Jackie.
I really loved her the entire time. I even think the way she performed would have been different with a male director. Like I think some of the things were kind of like jokingly sexual, like in the first club and whatever. With some of the dance, like the gyrating dance moves. But those are kind of more like, I think, in the funny new wave 80s pop punk thing. Whereas I think I just assume if a male director had taken it on, maybe those scenes would be less funny and more like purposely sexual, like in an exploitive way or anything like that. And whereas I think it very much was her kind of getting to feel liberated in herself while she performed rather than being like ogled by others. So, I mean, I just really love her a lot. And then kind of going back, I lost my notes for a second. So I think it's funny because I'm kind of going to change this question on you both because of how we've been talking about it. It kind of seems like you would have liked both films more if they had kind of met in the middle of each other. Like if Starstruck had been more over the top and if Across the Universe had toned its shit down a little bit more. Like I feel like you guys might have liked it more because I was going to ask, if you thought the what am I trying to think of? 1 second. The kind of heavy-handedness of Across the Universe worked in its favor, and if the stripped-down Rocky Horror vibes worked for Starstruck, and it seems like you guys are like, no.
Well, like, I mean, I think Starstruck as it is works perfectly. I think it needed to be stripped down. There's no way you could add more to that movie because it would just feel like too much. So I think Starstruck as it is perfect for that kind of film. Whereas, like, I just do think Across the Universe is heavy-handed. And I understand, like, maybe the subject matter requires it, but it's just a slog for me at moments. And, like, I guess also, too, I just wasn't as in love with the characters as needed to be in order to, like, really kind of move forward through their journey and everything. So I guess if you don't get that connection at the beginning, then it's not going to be a great movie for you. So, yeah.
Fair point.
I feel kind of differently about it. Even though I was watching it and wondering, okay, if you take all the songs away in the context and everything, does it work? For me, not entirely, but I think that it needs the heavy-handedness. When you're taking something as big as the Beatles and putting it into a movie, you have to have you have to have it kind of spoon-fed to you a little bit. And I think Star Trek benefits from its form, and beyond just being an enjoyable movie musical, I think it's an enjoyable film. And I think, yeah, if you added more to it, it would have maybe distracted from the actual storyline. But yeah, I don't know what Across the Universe could have done. I don't know. I have such like conflicted feelings about it because there's so much good about it, and there's other things that are like, well, it's not like quite there, but I don't know what is off about it.
You just don't like it, and that's fine.
I mean, I like it, but I don't know. It's nice on my eyes.
I think it's funny though. I think this podcast more than others were like specific tastes are coming up. It's like, yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, I liked it too. Which is great because I'm glad we agree on films. Like, God forbid we'd all hated Advantageous at the start. It really would have thrown us for a loop. But because like for me, I think I've talked about it before. Like at least if not here, everywhere else. But I would rather see a film shoot far out in the distance and miss than a film that plays it safe, which is kind of what we were talking about with the male directors earlier. I also love films that wear their heart on their sleeve. I love over sincerity. Like, I just think it's so delightful to watch. And so I did get that with Across the Universe. So I think it needed to be big and bold to go along with the visuals, the music. Like, if it wasn't a little like melodrama soapy, I think it's kind of missing the mark of what it's trying to do. I do think it's too long. I will absolutely, once it gets to that song, when Max is like at the hospital, it's like, this has gone on too long. Let's wrap it. Like, we're done. But I do agree with that. And I do think Starstruck needed to be as stripped down as it was because the lead character is so over the top and eccentric that if it tried to match her energy, it might have come off cartoonish. So, but I can just see how maybe another viewer could be watching both and been like, they could have taken from each other to kind of make a more fully formed, obvious musical. But again, that's coming from somebody who like clearly is head over heels for these films. And I skipped a question, and it's because, so I'm hoping later down the line we'll continue to talk kind of about how a female director can make a film that's like pretty goddamn similar to a film a male director made, and one is praised and one isn't, especially by the time that A Star is Born comes along, because if we're going to possibly tackle some films of its ilk. But with this one, with Across the Universe specifically, I kind of started drawing comparisons to Moulin Rouge, especially because both take from classic songs. Both are abundantly opulent and like shamelessly romantic, yet the former is called too much and the latter is praised a lot. And I love both of these films, I guess, to kind of put it out there first. I really do. Clearly, anybody could have guessed I liked Moulin Rouge if I love Across the Universe that much. But I was interested in you guys' thoughts. And Gabby, I know you don't love Moulin Rouge, so you might be an interesting starting point.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't.
Well, I get that one. That one I get too. It's kind of loud in every way.
Yeah, I sort of found. I mean, I guess maybe just everyone loves it, so I find the reception for it kind of annoying. But I just do think, yeah, like you said, it's too loud. It's too much. I just like.
Just makes me cry every single time.
Yeah, I guess I don't care about the characters in it. Like, I don't. Like, nah, I can't get with it. And like, I love musicals, but for some reason when I watch it, I just cannot connect with the main couple. So, you know, whereas like Across the Universe kind of, it is a slog. I'm sorry. But the music does match the story beats pretty well. And it does not feel like, it doesn't feel like as overdone or opulent as Moulin Rouge, which is why I kind of like, I like it more than Moulin Rouge. But I just think Moulin Rouge tries too hard. And, you know, it's sort of its song and dance numbers kind of just hide this average movie for me. And I just think, you know, sexism again. Baz Luhrmann is, you know, well loved and a man, and Julie Taymor clearly has a keen eye for style. Like, she frames shots very beautifully and in very like unique ways. And I mean, it's sort of sad that she doesn't like receive as many accolades as him.
Or get chances like he did, because, you know, he made that film Australia that nobody liked, I think.
Yeah, it was not good.
One of you guys did, and then I'm sorry, I guess. But and then he got The Great Gatsby immediately, like a couple years afterwards. So, which again got middling reviews, and I don't actually dislike that film, but it shows you that, you know, you can fail upwards if you're a dude.
Yeah.
AJ, how about you? Are you also a Moulin Rouge hater?
This might be even worse. I've never seen Moulin Rouge.
You know what? Actually,
that's okay.
I don't judge people who haven't seen films. I only saw The Godfather 2 years ago, and I've been a film critic for at least 5. So,
but I have seen Strictly Ballroom.
Oh,
which I guess that could probably be an okay comparison since it's in that trilogy of his. Yeah, kind of just, I'm not like super keen on it. It's just okay. But
yeah.
The Great Gatsby, his take on it, I will like, that is a hill I will die on. Like, I love that film. But it does get me wondering, like, what, like, would it have been different? How would it have been different if someone like Julie Taymor had the chance to take it?
Oh God.
I think it would just be like insane in the best way. But it might just be because I love The Great Gatsby and
the movie, or just in general?
Just in general. General.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I would have loved it regardless. But yeah, it does get me thinking about how.
I think those two directors are really cut from the same cloth. I'd put them in the same boat with the director who directed that movie, The Fall. If either of you have seen that, they're both just kind of, and all of which I love. They just have like this grand sense of visuals. It's like they want movies to be theater, which is interesting because I feel like it doesn't always work when they try, and I do think those three execute it well, typically speaking. But I also don't like Romeo and Juliet, so we're all up in arms here with like unpopular opinions. But yeah, no, I just thought it was interesting, especially because we've been talking about, you know, comparisons to films that are like each other but directed by a man and a woman and how they react. And this Moulin Rouge was like the closest comparison I could think of for across the universe. I am curious, like kind of just selfishly, what your favorite numbers are from these films. And AJ, since you were such a staunch Beatles fanatic, were you harder on the songs when you first watched them because you're like, they're not going to touch the originals?
No, I wanted to see how they would take the songs that you hear and how they would like play them out, because I know that everybody does this. You have your headphones in and you're like staring out the car window and like imagining you're in like a music video.
Hell yeah.
And like 13-year-old me was like, I wonder how they're gonna do this, like how they're gonna play out each song. I don't know if I was like hard on them, but I think now watching it as an adult, I appreciate the stylistic choices that were made. Especially, it's not my favorite one, but I've just seen a face when he's in the bowling alley. I love that. I love that scene.
Sorry, I do too.
My favorite number, and this might just be because of the sound design, was All You Need Is Love, because there's this moment where She Loves You like weaves into like the underbelly of the song. It only happens for like a little bit, but it was just like very lovely. And I don't know, I just liked, you know, he's on the roof and it's just like passionate, like stripped down and just nice and like feel good.
That film really promised a career for Jim Sturgis that did not carry out. Huh? And I really loved him in that. See, it's just funny because like I think Across the Universe was like my version of Guitar Hero for boys, where like I started liking the Beatles more after I saw this movie. It's not like I was unaware, but all of a sudden I was like digging more into it. And one of the reasons was that I've just seen a face scene. I loved it. Like everything about it. Specifically, I actually thought Jim Sturgis was so good in it. Like there's just a beat where it's just on his face and you're like, he's a confident dude. And it just like exudes off of him. But I just loved all of it because it was just playful and fun. And it took a familiar song and just made it like more upbeat and kind of engaging. I also love Hey Jude because I'm a goddamn sap. And I was just like, his buddy's home. This is amazing. And everything's going to right itself. And like the villagers all following him in the streets. Like unabashedly. I love that scene. Like, I'm like, I need more of this in films. And then for Starstruck, and I love Body and Soul in the diner. Again, apparently I love like group sing-along moments. But I really loved that too. AJ, I didn't ask you if you even have one for Starstruck.
Monkey and Me, because it's zany and I love it. I'm here for it. Sign me up. I like the weird passionate numbers.
Whereas I'm like, make me cry. Gabby, how about you?
I picked I Want You from Across the Universe. Just that sequence where Joel Anderson's character is kind of going into the army. And I just think like it's just a brilliant sequence, and it really showcases like what Julie Taymor could do to just be like her showreel, because that would like sell me if I was producing a movie. But yeah, I just love how she filmed that part, and it's not even my favorite like actual song, but I was just like kind of looking at it from like more of like a filmmaking standpoint. Otherwise, yeah, I probably would like Hey Jude if I had to pick a song. That was my favorite from the film. And for Starstruck, I just picked the first performance because it really surprised me. I had no idea what was in store, and she just kind of like totally blew my mind. And the way she commanded, the club and stage and the bar, it was like amazing. And just that confidence was like fantastic. So yeah.
That first scene is what made me kind of do the Rocky Horror comparison too. The first musical number. And I don't even love Rocky Horror that much. Like I definitely have fallen asleep after the time warp every single time I've watched it. I find it really boring. Maybe if I saw it live, it'd be more fun. But yeah, I thought the first scene set the tone, and I was like, oh, this is what this movie is. If you guys were to pick a musical to be adapted, what would it be, and who would direct it?
So this was hard because they've like pretty much adapted most musicals. There's still a lot they haven't, but I guess I was looking at like blockbuster musicals, and Wicked came to mind because I felt like that I'm surprised it hasn't been adapted yet.
Even if the book version.
Yeah, like so. Ideally, I think like a female director would be suitable for it. So Julie Taymor instantly came to mind because I just think she's a good fit stylistically. And then I also thought of Greta Gerwig because she could do a very interesting like take on the sister dynamic, but she's kind of doing that with Little Women, so we'll see. Which I don't think that's also a Gillian Armstrong movie. So
it is. Can't say I'm 100% thrilled at the idea yet, but I'll back it when it comes out. AJ, how about you?
I have 2 picks.
Yay.
Next to Normal. And I would want
the Aaron Tveit one?
Mm-hmm.
Tveit, right?
I would want Karen Kasama to do that. I think that might be an interesting fit. I guess I have 3. Avenue Q and give it to Elizabeth Banks.
How do they even do that one?
I don't know, but I just want to see it happen, and I want Elizabeth Banks to do it. I think she'd be perfect because she's a little kooky, and I like her, and I'm excited for her Charlie's Angels.
Yes.
See what she'll do with that. And then I know that this is one of your picks too. But I think Spring Awakening.
Yes.
And I think D. Reese would be really, really good.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, fuck. Yours is better. Because I picked Spring Awakening too, but with Lynn Ramsey. Because I was just like, how can we make this really dark story even darker? Lynn Ramsey. But D. Reese, that's a really good pick for that one. I changed my answer. I like AJ's more. But Spring Awakening would be my pick just for, because I think, honestly, it would be relatively easy to adapt into a film. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes, like, Wicked, I want to see on film. Like I used one of the songs as my audition song for, like, a college, you know? Like, I didn't get in, but I used it. But, so I loved it, but I was always so curious how they would do that, because that was one so fit for the stage. But, like, once it happens, if it does happen, I'm going to be stoked. But Spring Awakening, I don't know, it's already so dark and based in realism, but I also just love the songs. Sometimes I'll just go back and watch some of the songs from, like, the Tony Awards performances, and they're so good. Angsty teenage me would listen to it on, like, the bus. I loved it. So I was a loser. But, like,
no, you weren't.
Yeah,
good taste.
I don't know. Having YouTube rips of musicals is kind of a bummer. But I think that would just translate easily, even with a song like Totally Fucked. But no, I like the D. Reese one, and I do want Wicked to happen. So, as is our new tradition, what have you guys been watching or reading or listening to that you would kind of recommend and push out to anybody who's listening?
So right now I'm currently finishing up the Shades of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab. It's a book. I don't really think it's YA. I think it's more adult. It's like one of those, like, cross genre things. Anyone could really read it. And it's pretty good. I just, like, that's a disclaimer. I hate the last book in any book series, like, just by default. So,
because you're hating that it ends, or they're just always bad?
It's like a combination of both. It's just, like, always disappointing, never lives up to, like, my expectations.
Got it.
So yeah, but it's not bad, and it's worth reading. And the female lead is basically like this pirate witch, and she has, like, this I don't give a fuck attitude that the author really commits to, despite how unlikable that makes her at times, which I kind of appreciate, because I usually feel like writers tend to soften female characters who are a little rough around the edges, and she really hasn't. She kind of, this is who she is, so it's kind of cool. And then probably tonight I'm going to watch Netflix's To All the Boys I've Loved Before for, like, the third time. So
mood. Big mood.
Right? I'm going to finish it tonight. I had to pause it last night.
Oh, it's so good.
Because my fiance had to go to bed, and he wants us to finish it together. Which I guess is, yeah. But I was kind of pissed also. Like, you can stay up an extra half hour. But, big mood. I'm loving seeing Twitter just, like, explode in just pure love for the two lead characters, but especially the male lead, who is just
Peter Kavinsky. I love
you. Basically,
like, as much as I'm in love with him now, if I had watched this movie as a teen, oh my god,
it would be over. It would be over.
Like, men would be ruined. AJ, what have you been listening, reading, watching?
I am reading Darcy Bell's A Simple Favor in preparation for the movie, because I want to know what happens in the book before I go see it. I'm weird like that. Yeah. Usually I don't mind. I'm okay just going into a movie blind and not knowing. But this one, there's something about it. The trailer, there's just too many like loose ends that I need to know. So I'm getting there. I haven't gotten to anything juicy yet, but I will get there. I haven't been really watching anything noteworthy except for what everybody's been watching recently. To All the Boys I Loved Before and Crazy Rich Asians, which changed my life. And that wedding scene.
Oh my God.
I cried.
So many tears. It was too good. But yeah.
Okay, side note, in Crazy Rich Asians, there was a scene, I'm going to spoil it, whatever, I'll do a warning. There's a proposal scene, right? Where my sister and I actually audibly went, oh my God.
Yes.
Like both of us in tandem, and then we're like, oh no. Like, this is so sad. But yeah, no, that scene and the wedding scene, I was just like a mess. So clearly we're all in need of rom-coms right now. Yeah. I think it's a general mental state.
It is. It's something, it's like a collective mood.
I've been trying desperately to read David Sedaris' newest book, Calypso, because I just love him. And then I recently finished the Hyperbole and a Half book. It's like, I don't know, it's a kind of a comic, but I related to it so much, and it really did a number on my like, oh man, I'm a mess mentality. I'll have to share the link because it just like nailed certain aspects of like procrastination as a tool for like success that I thrive in. And then I've also been listening to the Mitski album, Be the Cowboy, a bunch, along with the new Foxing album. And I've never liked anything Foxing has released, and I really love this newest album because it's freaking theatrical and big. Mm-hmm. And we now know that there's a trend of things that I like, which is just like broad and emotionally available. But yeah, so I also haven't been watching a lot recently, except for things like Set It Up and To All the Boys I Loved Before and Crazy Rich Asians, because again, I'm just like, I'm looking for feel-good escapism right now, I think. But yeah. So thank you everybody for listening again. AJ and Gabby, where can we find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Gabrielle Adele.
You can find me on Twitter at AJ_Caulfield.
You can find me at Allison AJ. You can find us technically at Finding Her Voice on Twitter, but I suck at updating it. So you can also find us at TYF Official. We will be back next month with a genre yet to be determined, and I think I'm going to throw it to the other two since I made them watch 5 hours worth of movies of films they did not like. And I'm not being spiteful. I swear if it came out that way. But let us know what you think of the podcast and what you think we should watch next. Thanks. Bye.